You want to start with an opening statement, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, just still getting over, recovering from that tough loss. Guys, that was probably our most complete game until the last 8 minutes. Offense, defense, special teams really had some good moments in that game, and we fell apart towards to the end of the game, and we got to do a better job of keeping our composure. And I lost it a couple times on the sideline, getting mad at the refs, and it was for me it made me feel like it made it okay to come out of character for the players, and we kind of unraveled there towards the fourth quarter. So a great lesson to learn. This is not too many people get this opportunity to learn and grow from something like that. So luckily Weber State and everybody else was there to help us out and give us this lesson. So we'll see how we bounce back from that. We talk about having bounced back in our DNA, and there's not a bigger test that we're facing this week than coming off that loss. So great opportunity going into Idaho State. Haven't won a road game yet, and on top of that, we're dealing with what happened. So this is a crucial point in the season, crucial point in this program, in my tenure. So it'll be a really big challenge that I think we're going to be prepared for.
When it comes to the discipline stuff, are you doing anything in practice to kind of like keep better accountability at this point?
I mean, we did some running yesterday out in the rain. That was interesting, but it's more just doing what we're supposed to do. It's not. I mean, the things that had happened weren't. I mean, you don't practice those things, so it's just having discipline and doing what you're supposed to do. So it's more of a mindset. It's more of focusing on the process and not the results. And we got really result driven towards the end of that game. We just wanted to win it by any means necessary. And it's not about focusing on winning. It's a focus on the process and doing the right things at the right time.
And it was out of character. Like it's been a whole year and you haven't really had those like discipline problems, those personal foul late hits. So like what caused it, do you think?
I pointed out, like I said, I lost control a little bit. I complained. I did things that we were not supposed to do, and people see me or didn't see me. It obviously affected us towards the end of that game. And you look back at the stat sheet, I expected to see 150 yards of penalties. We had 60 yards, and it was two crucial penalties at the end of the game. And you can't lose your composure, and you can't get out of character. You got to make sure that you trust the process and do what you're supposed to do when it matters.
JT, were they like chirping at you guys at all during the game that kind of just got under your skin? Not yours, but your teammates apparently.
I mean, yeah, they were talking, but it wasn't anything we haven't heard before. It was pretty much the same thing we get all year. You guys aren't good. You guys are gonna lose. You guys are terrible. Same thing we hear all year. It's like, it wasn't anything new.
So did it surprise you that your teammates like reacted that way at the end of the game?
I think Tate was a surprise. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't even know when they called his name out. I was like, not his name but his number. They said 83. Personal foul. I was like, you mean Tate? It's like, there's no way. So then that was probably my only real surprise. I mean, of course, those penalties, you don't want them to happen at any time during the game, but for them to happen in those circumstances, it was tough. It was pretty rough. But yeah.
So like, just where's the team at as a player perspective? Like, have you guys recovered from it, or are you still thinking, lingering on it?
We've recovered. We're ready to get on the road. I mean, of course, you don't want to lose the Weber State period, but it's like, we get, like Coach always tells us, bounce back. You got to be a palm tree. So you feel the wind blowing you a certain way, you got to be able to bounce right back. So we're ready to go. We're ready to start. We're ready to start our full practice today and get our first word right.
Now, Coach, Idaho State's athletic director said some not super harsh things about SU over the summer, but did mention that it was a controversial conference championship. Is that being used kind of as motivation this week?
Not yet. We got a lot to focus on before that, but I mean, yeah, any time. I don't know. though that subject's a touchy subject for me, just because of what all happened last year. So, I think they didn't. I don't know if they looked at the schedules of other teams as well, because I think we played all the same teams. And yeah, we did what we did last year. We earned it, and we didn't earn it this year. And whoever wins it this year is going to earn it. You play the teams in front of you. And no matter what the schedules, you got to beat those guys that are in front of you, and so that's what we did last year. And yeah, that'll be probably a little bit of motivation towards the end of the week.
So not like it's a chip on the shoulder, like kind of prove him wrong a little bit, or at least just throw it in his face.
Nah, we won't throw it in his face, but yeah, it's I think that's a little harsh to say that it was controversial.
Now, has Jason talked to you? Because I know he was really upset about this.
Oh no, yeah, he's not happy. He's a competitor, man. That guy, he loves Southern Utah, and he wants us to be very successful. So he scares me sometimes how motivated he is. So.
Now, I think three of the last four opponents have put up record passing numbers on you guys. What's happening there? Why are you guys?
That's record passing, like for all time.
Or just their quarterbacks, yeah.
Well, last week we gave up a lot right at the end.
Yeah.
Because we had a pretty good game going. North Dakota, they found some things in our defense that Kyle shared up last week, and then
it was Montana.
Montana. That guy's pretty dang good. I'm surprised that was no. I don't know. We're working on everything. We're trying to piece together our defense right now and getting guys in positions to be successful. We don't have any excuses. We just we play some pretty good guys, I guess, and they've been on when we played them. So no, I don't have any.
So the Weber State one, you're just kind of chalking up to. Because it really was he put up like 300 yards in the last 8 minutes.
He caught fire. So yeah, those other two, I don't know how to explain those. Weber State, everything fell apart.
JT, how nice was it to have Kyle back in the secondary?
Oh man, it's always nice to have that guy back there lurking around. Wild man. It was nice to have his energy back, because that guy there he might not say a lot, but he plays with so much energy, and he gives everything that he has. So it's not that Mitch or TC wouldn't, but I don't know how to really explain him. He's like a Tasmanian devil back there. So he just lurks around and just runs full speed at whatever he can and just hits it. And he's such a savvy player as well. Like there were a bunch of plays during the game where we did an inverse, where me and him switched responsibilities. Well, of course it was scheme built, but we just were able to disguise it so well, and it worked out really well because of how savvy he is. So yeah, it was nice to have him back.
Is that energy contagious?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was contagious. It was contagious last year when that guy used to come up and make huge hits. Like, a lot of people talk about the big hits Miles had and all the other guys, but and he's put a wallop on some guys, dude. He's infectious, man. Especially when he's out there, you just hear him. You just hear, like, sometimes when he makes a big play, you'll hear him say "woo" really loud. And it's like, it's something you just can't miss. Yeah.
Well, Coach, Idaho State on a losing streak. What are the dangers of facing a team that's down right now?
They had a home game, played really well against North Dakota last week. So they're back-to-back weeks at home. It gets you kind of back in the rhythm, and you don't have to travel that week. You didn't have to travel the week before. So it'll be dangerous because they want to win too, and they're on their home turf. And so it's going to be a big game for them and for us. They're on the losing streak. We're on a losing streak, and it's going to be a lot of guys that have some motivation to try to pull this one out. And we're just stressing to our guys, let's focus on the process. Let's focus on the things that are going to help us be successful, and then all the results will take care of themselves.
You take away the last 7-8 minutes of last week's game. You guys have been really good at home, not so good on the road. What's the difference been?
That's our job to kind of figure out how to be more successful. I think we figured out how to get our guys ready for the game, but for some reason we're not finishing on the road. So we usually start pretty good on the road, which is not normal. But we've had leads in all those road games, and in the second half there's been a disconnect. Montana in the third quarter, North Dakota in the fourth quarter. So we're hoping to try to get better and try to put a complete game together. And I thought we had one going, and hopefully on the road we could pull one off. But it's a big week to do it.
JT, why have you guys struggled to finish?
That's a really tough question. Honestly, couldn't really tell you. Like he said, we come out so strong during those first halves of those games, and we've been in every single one of those games, including the Utah game. And I can't really explain it. I mean, we worked on energy during weeks, and it's not the energy. It's not. We just I have no idea. Couldn't even do it. I couldn't begin to tell you.
It's probably the problem.
Anything else?
No, we'll let JT get to class.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Coach, we'll skip an opening statement because I know the snow.
She just
In what ways have you seen your team progress throughout, this kind of a season?
I don't know if you'd call it progression. It's interesting when a season doesn't go the way you want. A lot of teams, most teams actually, tend to break down, and there's in-house bickering, and nobody's happening, and you stop pulling. But these guys have done a great job of continuing to fight and fight and fight. We split on the weekend. We did an okay job against Montana to win in 4. Mikhail had a really good night. We lost to Montana State. Shannon was really, really good. Shannon made the statement after the match to the coaches, because she didn't have a good match the first night against Montana. She said, I'd rather play crummy and win than play well and lose. And, I guess people could take that the way they want, but I took it as, this is a kid who understands and wants to keep fighting. And it's not easy to keep fighting at this stage, but they do. So, strange way, I guess I'm kind of proud of them.
Yeah.
Why do you think they have been able to continue to keep fighting?
They're good people. I like everybody on the team, and teams aren't always that way. Sometimes there's somebody who just thinks of themselves all the time. And I think that this is a group. The group's not perfect. The coaching staff's not perfect, but on the whole, I think this is a group that is trying to do what's right. We just don't have all the weapons we need right now. It's that simple. And we lost a weapon on Saturday, which you can't really print, but Ann tore her ACL. So the season just keeps getting better for us.
And from a player's perspective, where does that fire come from? How do you guys keep fighting?
I feel like we're a really close-knit group, like we go out into the airport and we're traveling through, and it's just, there's always just so much energy with our team, and I feel like that cohesiveness just, I don't know, we all just came together, and it's just, I don't know.
Would you say that cohesiveness is different this year than it has been in years past?
I think so, yeah. I feel like this group is a lot closer than the years past.
Coach, you've mentioned before that your team plays better on the road. Is that a positive? Looking forward to a lot of road games throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. I don't know. It's not that my teams play better on. It's this particular group this group of kids the last 2 years seem to be better on the road than they are at home. I don't know what it is about home with us, but to be perfectly honest, we're taking our best blocker out and our highest percentage hitter out. So no, I'm not looking forward to a lot of any of that, but we have to go play them. And so we'll give it our best effort. We have Rebecca Nelson is going to try to fill Ann's spot, and she's a part-time outside hitter, and she's going to work really hard to do it, but it's going to be a near impossibility to fill those shoes. So we'll go play as hard as we can, but as limited as we were, we're more limited now. So I don't know that the road really helps us a whole lot.
So what's your injury report right now? Do you have anyone that's been coming back, or is everyone that's
We
been
have
out
8
still?
kids that will be playing. Everybody will play. There will be no subs. At this stage, if another person gets hurt, we forfeit the season because we can't field the team. That's the situation we're in. It's just been the most freakish year of my life. Those are the cards. Got to play them, So we'll just play them. But we only had 2 middles, and now one's gone, so we're faking it in the other middle, and that's going to be a joy for the other teams as soon as they recognize that. They're going to attack it. There's nothing we can do about it. But we started practice yesterday with the new lineup, and it was quite frustrating at first. But in all honesty, they just kept getting a little smoother and a little smoother and a little better at it. They just keep trying, and I don't know what else to ask out of them. I wish I could ask them to be taller and hit harder, but I can't do that, so I can only ask them to try, and they're doing that. So.
And what do you hope to bring to the team from here on out the rest of the season from the sideline?
Well, I'm going to help out Becca as much as I can. I mean, there's not a whole lot I can do, but the best I can do is give her my knowledge as a middle. So I'm going to try to help her to be the best that she can be in that position. And also, just be like their cheerleader, their biggest fan, I don't know what else to do, but I'm going to cheer as loud as I can and try to help them anyway.
Coach, you guys have lost a lot of 5-setters this season. What is it? Is it the youth, or what is it that can't seem to help you guys play a full game together?
At Idaho, we were up 14-11 in Game 5. And I was sitting on the bench thinking, okay, I'm going to take them to this restaurant, and then afterwards we're going to go to Krispy Kreme, and we're going to treat this like we just won a national championship. And then we lost 19-17. I've never seen a team lose 14-11 in Game 5. We don't have the maturity, we don't have the focus yet. No offense to Ann, but the three most important positions on the floor are the two left sides and the setter. They kind of run the whole thing. And we're all freshmen in those positions, and when push comes to shove, we're not ready for it yet. Doesn't mean they won't be at some point, but when the other team have upperclassmen doing the exact same thing in the same position and they've been there before, it does make a difference. And so we're 2-5, I think, in Game 7s, but we've been outscored 101-96. We've been outscored by 5 points in those games. So it's not like we're not there. We just haven't gotten one single break in those games, so.
And would you say the same thing as far as why I can't put a complete game together?
Yeah, I just feel like mentality is what we're missing, like we're a really young team, and that's bound to happen with a young team, but I mean, they're a great group of girls and they all have amazing talent, so they're going to go places. Like eventually they're going to figure it out, and our team is going to be really great. I'm just sad that it's not going to be when I'm on the court, but like they'll figure it out. They'll get it eventually.
Coach, heading into this weekend specifically, what are your biggest focuses?
Well, I thought we were good enough to get Portland State here. I really did. After we got Sac, I thought, okay, the mentality, we kind of proved to ourselves that we can do it. So nothing's going to change. We just have to keep fighting through to the point where we realize that the focus has mentality, maturity. I'm not sure. I tend to think of it as focus. We don't stay focused for long periods of time. We tend to give up runs of 5 points, which is really not very good in volleyball. But then we fight our way back into it. But we're always fighting out of the hole. We're hardly ever leading, from that same thing. So if we can, in the next 3 weeks, start to figure that out, that will be really good for next year. I mean, there's not a ton we can do to change this season. It's kind of too late for that. But we can make a run on getting better for the future. That's probably where the biggest goal is.
Seeing the youth of your team and how well they've done this year with that immaturity, does that make you excited for next year?
Well, yes and no. We have freshmen. One thing that I always tell freshmen is you're going to make this gigantic leap in your first off season. Everybody does, because all the pressure's gone. And now all the things that coaches say to you start to make sense, because you don't have your first semester academics, you don't have your first semester away from home, you don't have the pressure of volleyball, which is completely different than high school, where that coach is also a math teacher, but now they have a coach who doesn't think about anything but the sport and how we have to win, because we're college coaches and we make a living doing that. But we're going to lose Sarah Morley. She's going on a mission. But the other two freshmen, Lexi will be fine. She needs to settle down. She's a typical nervous freshman, but she'll settle down and she'll be a fine setter. And Sarah Vang is turning into a better passer and defender than I thought. She may or may not be an outside next year. She could be a DS or a libero, because she really likes that, and she's really starting to get aggressive, much more so than when she first showed up. So I think there's a future there, but we're going to be sending our second and next year we're sending our third missionary out, and it's just kind of hard to get things rolling when you can't keep them in the program,
A question for both of you. Who are one or two players that have just really stepped up this year due to injuries or this or that?
I feel like Shannon.
Shannon, without question, has been the biggest. Shannon has done, I would say, a fabulous job, even though her numbers may not look fabulous, but especially right now without Ann, there's not enough support around her for her to be really. I think she has the physical talent to be a first-team all-conference player, but we don't have enough support around her to let her shine to that extent. We're asking her to do so much, it's mind-boggling. I've never had a player where we intentionally set out of the back row, and we have her coming out of the back row now because we just need the help. And she has been one of those people. She plays. Last year she doesn't play, doesn't change anything. She's just gung ho, cheering her teammates on. She's just she's a dream actually for a coach.
Would you echo that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Shannon's come like leaps, and she just keeps going. It doesn't matter. Nothing takes her down. She's always positive. She's always that energy person on our team, you know? Like, if we'll be going down, she's still positive. She's still got energy. She's flowing, and it's been an honor to be able to play with her, you know?
Cool. Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
Coach, if you want to start with an opening statement, mostly previewing this big weekend of your.
Well, this is the weekend we all look forward to. The weekend each coach does. You know, the weekend you actually contend for that conference title. And so this one is all, it really doesn't matter as far as the conference is concerned. It doesn't really matter what we've done in the past. It's all 12 teams on one course at one time. So, obviously anything can happen. There are some things that you can actually predict won't happen. A team that's been struggling, chances are all year they won't come and win the conference title. But I think the conference title on both sides is really on the women's side about 4 teams, and on the men's side about 3 teams, I believe. But obviously with Northern Arizona being the number 1 team in the country, they're going to be hard obviously to beat. And so you have to go in with a game plan. I mean, because there's still 2nd place and 3rd place and 4th place, and so we're gonna fight for that number 1 position. But man, we want to secure 2nd place at the same time. And on the women's side, I think we have a really good shot to be in the top 4, and that's a bonus for us, because more than just a bonus, it's an indication of how the season's been going, because we were ranked 10th, and I really believe we'll be in the top 4. And there is that outside chance, I think, unlike the men, that we could pull off a championship possibly on the women's side, which would be nice. And on the men's side, I think we have that shot, but man, they look really good at Wisco, and with them being the number 1 team, they're not ranked the number 1 team in the country, for no reason at all. So they're a pretty solid team. So we're looking forward to it. It should be fun. And actually, I mean, when you have all the teams there at one time, and I sell it to my athletes, I mean, because it really is the culture of the program, and what I believe a coach tries to accomplish. And you can't only be excited when you think you're going to win the conference championship, and I think I've said this before, you got to be excited wherever you are. I mean, if you improve in the conference standings, I really don't care if we don't win it. I mean, if it's in the cards, we're going to win it. But if it's not, we're going to get the next best spot. And I hear statements like, first place is everything, and who cares about number 2? Well, I do. I care about number 3. I care about number 4. We're not all the best riders here in the country sitting in front of me, but that doesn't mean you're going to give up. And those great stories you produce, those are championships. Those are victories. And so that is my take on life. That's my take, in the program, the culture of the program. And so, man, whatever we get, as long as we don't get 12th, if we get 12th, I'm going to have to back up and rethink things. but that will be something out of our control, I believe. But I do think we're going to go in and fight on both sides. I mean, we're going to be in the game. That's what's so cool. We're going to be in the top 4. And so I'm looking forward to it. So are the athletes.
Coach, your men's team, they go in as the defending champions,
right,
but on the other side, as you mentioned, is the number 1 team in the entire country. So what is their mindset going into this race?
To break them up, so that try to avoid a perfect score if possible. You think about it, 90% of the conference championships that will be contested this weekend, we could have won. We just happened to be in one with the number 1 team in the country. And so with that understood, then our job now is to secure 2nd place if we can, and see if we can break them up, because I know that's what they're thinking. They want to try to sweep it, and they may, but we're going to really try to avoid that if we can. But even if they do, it's not going to affect how we're going to perform at the regional championship. I mean, at the regional championship, now you have one of the toughest regions in the country. That's including BYU, who's number 3 in the country, Colorado, who's number 4 in the country. You got Air Force, you got Colorado, Colorado State, Montana's, all the conference schools. And so to think that we're in that game, and that right now the projections are we're going to be bumped into the national championship for the 3rd straight year in a row as a team. I'm not going to let what happens at conference affect how we're going to do at the next 2 big, gigantic races, a huge stage. And so we're, our mindset's on, seeing if we can secure truly one of the top spots in the country. So if we can finish 20th out of 315 teams, you know, the 20th best program in the country. I mean, that again speaks to, so what if we're not number one? We're in the top 20, you know, so.
So how will this the conference meet help you with the regional and the national championship?
Well, we've got to be on our game, basically. We're chasing the number one team in the country, and so we're hoping that from there, and, you know, when I looked at Wisconsin, here's how close it is. I looked at Wisconsin and the time spread between Northern Arizona and us. It's only 30 seconds. From their number one person to our number one person, who is typically our number three, it's 30 seconds. That means, what, 30 seconds? And everybody else is in between. 30 seconds from a national championship? That's insane. So I told the guys, that is so cool. We're 30 seconds away from a national championship. We're close enough, we can smell it. If you're 30 seconds outside of your house, you can smell the dinner cooking on the stove. I mean, that is how close we are. And so we're going to just, we do have our mindset on this year, but think about it. They graduate people. We don't graduate anybody. If we have a great recruiting class, which it looks like we might, is it possible that we could be sitting in that spot at some point? Absolutely. So to me, it's exciting. I mean, to me, it's like Christmas, kind of. There are a lot of presents under the tree. I don't care if anybody else gets them. I got one in there, and that's what this is all about. It's about, man, I'm celebrating the whole thing. The whole thing is cool. It's life. It's awesome. This is where this program's at, and these are where these young athletes are at. And so what if someone gets second place or first place or third place? You know, I think by chasing it and constantly rubbing shoulders with the best people in the country, it teaches you how to get in that door. And so that's, I think, what's going to help us this weekend.
Is it pretty cool that even just NAU, obviously not you guys, but they are a Big Sky's cool team sitting at the top of the rankings? Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, number one, and we're number 20th. And so 2 Big Sky teams, you know, among the best in the country. It's just really, I'm just glad I'm part of the party. I mean, it's cool. And it's cool. I know Eric really well. He's a good man, and he's done a great job there. And so it would be a celebration, I think, for all of us if they win that title, because it speaks well of the Big Sky, you know, and distance running and the power. You know, it was interesting reading a release. You know, someone was talking about the Big Sky Conference Championship and powerhouse. You know, number one team in the country, NAU, and powerhouse Southern Utah. I mean, in those words, that was like pretty cool to hear and see. So.
Could you mention number 20 in the country, one of the highest rankings in your tenure? I remember earlier in the season you said this could be one of the best men's teams you've ever had. What early on led you to believe that?
In this sport, you know, there's markers. You know, if you have from point A to point B and that never changes, and you have a stopwatch, you keep records, you can tell pretty much, wow, we're going to struggle. You know, so we're going to back up, and our conference championship now is 10th place, and we're going to fight for 10th place. Or you look at it and say, oh my gosh, there's some possibilities here. And that's, you know, some of those early on markers, along with the level of recruit. 5 years ago, I changed my recruiting a lot. I divided the job up because it's such a big job, and we have a very good name, you know, in the state, in the country, and actually in some parts of the world. And so we needed more attention paid onto the recruiting. So when I adjusted it about 5 years ago, I think now we're starting to see the impact of that, you know, where there's more attention, reaching out to, you know, the door's open for us more than just in Utah now. I mean, we can go, you know, pretty much where we want, and we're in that game, especially in, you know, obviously in Canada. I mean, we're right alongside the big schools in this country, you know, as a viable option to come to this school. Hence, that's why you see, you know, a number of people, you know, in this program from different places.
What has led to your women's team having so much more success this season than they did last season?
Not a clue. I mean, I'm doing the same things I did last year, and how they've developed is, I think it's part of the program, part of the culture of the program. But to take the steps that they have this year, I didn't think that was going to happen. So I think it's doing things consistently. It's like being a consistent writer. I mean, you know, great things always come out of, you know, great. Got to report that. Anyways, let me rephrase that. The program is a very good program, and I think the stage is set for people to develop in that program. And so And looking at markers, they look as good as the 2012 team. That 2012 team finished 4th in the region. They beat BYU. They barely lost to Colorado, who's the super team in the conference or in the region. And so if we're there, then we're going to be a player in the next couple of years more than just in the conference. I hope. I believe.
Anybody else? Cool. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Any more stories about Chris, Mr. Thank?
Recapping how practice has been going, and then obviously previewing your first game this Saturday, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Sure. Well, we're obviously getting closer to the season. We're several weeks into practice. The group is, really starting to come together. Our priority one has been culture, trying to establish how we're going to practice, our attitude and effort through adversity, trying to put these guys in adverse situations, trying to turn the heat up a little bit, kind of see how guys will respond. And they've done a great job. And then put it in our system, which is obviously brand new. It's an extreme system in terms of trying to play fast. It takes every play commitment. You can't play fast for three possessions and take 2 off. It doesn't work that way. And so from that regard, it's certainly a process, but we're making great strides toward it. And as we get a little bit closer, we're starting to get a little bit more drilled down into the details, counters to our set plays and wrinkles out of our pressing and some of those things that we want to do. So it's certainly getting a little more exciting as we get closer to the season. We're focusing more on the basketball details than the implementation of our system and culture. But big games coming up for us. Saturday will be a good test for us to kind of see where we're at. And then going forward, obviously we hit the ground running with the challenging schedule, starting off with Valparaiso and St. Louis, who will both be very excellent this year, and then we return home and then get back out at the MGM Grand event, which will be another huge test for us. So very early on, we have a number of tests coming up, and finish the month off with UNLV at home, which anytime you get a storied program like that to come into the Centrum is certainly a big deal for our program.
What are you hoping to get out of this exhibition games?
Well, we're going to approach it very much like a game, but what we want to see, we have a number of guys. We really only have a handful of guys that have played Division I basketball, and only a few that have played significant minutes. So we really wanted to get as many opportunities under the lights with people in the stands and officials and the whole deal as we can to get some mileage under our legs and kind of see how guys will do under that environment. And so that's probably the number one thing. Is just to get that experience. Number two, we want to build. You know, we've been battling ourselves quite a bit, and as you do that, you guys start to game the plays. They start to, you know, kind of it gets to be old hat a little bit. So this will give us certainly someone else to you know, to bang against and play our style against.
James, how do you feel like the team's kind of coming together right now?
Like Coach said, with all the culture that he was talking about, I just feel like we're starting to really get it, because it was hard at first. It was hard to adjust from the system that we were playing into fast-paced systems. So I think we're gelling really well together. There's no battling with each other. There's no talking back or anything. Everything is just competition-wise is great, and yeah, there's nothing that we talk about that isn't what he wants. So I mean, I think that's a good part of it too.
How do you feel like your skill set kind of matches with the system that you're playing with?
Speaking just for myself,
Yeah.
I mean, for going from last year to this year, I've had to get myself in better condition to run up and down the floor like he wants us to. I feel like being in better shape, all of us, we can get up and press 94 feet, get a rebound, go back down, score off of one pass, layup, get up 94 feet again, and I mean, it's just I think we all just as a group just got better conditioned to do so. It was hard to say the least. But yeah, it wasn't anything we couldn't handle. I mean, it was tough at first, obviously, but we pulled together as a group. That also helped for our team chemistry a lot, because there was guys that, you know, falling behind. You know, freshmen didn't understand what was going on, why we're doing this. As upperclassmen now, me, you know, Race, John, we had to take them and show them, like, this is what we're going to need to do to be a great team. So, I mean, that was really good for us.
Coach, how did you see the team kind of come together early on in the summer conditioning program?
Well, a little bit by design, we wanted to make it as difficult as we could.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to really set the bar very high, and hopefully everyone could make it, but we were willing to survive with those that couldn't reach that bar. You know, and that was a hard decision to make, but I think for the future of the program it was a very important one. And you know, and fortunately we knew we had character guys like James that wanted it. They wanted to win badly, and in doing that with the mixture of the new guys, it certainly put us in position, you know, to be able to really try to make this thing as difficult as we could across the process, not for the sake of being difficult, but for the sake of, well, let's put this standard of work ethic as high as we can, and let's keep it here. And if we do this over duration, it's going to lead to something special. And you know, I certainly would probably put our conditioning program, which includes day-to-day practices, how we design it, and the tempo of practice, and the tempo of what we did in the fall and the summer, probably against anybody in the countries. You know, it's one of those situations where you can control what you can control, and I think we've certainly, in that standard, put ourselves in an upper echelon of, you know, conditioned teams that can go for a while.
So there's some buzz, some excitement about the new era going around. Are you nervous at all going into this Saturday to kind of showcase some good things?
No, not necessarily. You know, I guess I'm not really wired that way. You know, we know what we have to do to prepare, and we've got a clear blueprint. You know, I guess I've always felt like you get nervous when there's some guessing going on. We know there's going to be, you know, mental lapses and different things in a new environment, and you know, once the natural feeling of maybe trying to do too much when the lights come on with people in the stands, and some of those things we're certainly cognizant that's going to happen. But in terms of our game preparation and everything that we've done up to this point, we feel like we checked all the boxes. So, you know, we got a few more days of stuff to kind of refine, but we go into it feeling pretty good that, hey, we're ready for this test, and you know, we'll accept the results as they come and grow from it.
You know who's going to be starting or in the rotation yet?
We've got a pretty clear idea, but we'll compete all the way up to game day, and you know, that stuff will certainly you know, be changeable as the year goes on, and some guys emerge and some guys fall off and injuries and those type of things. So, but we got a pretty fair idea of what it's going to look like, and guys that kind of separate themselves and earn their spots.
Do you mind sharing at least the starting lineup there?
Well, we're not quite there yet.
All right.
Probably by Friday, I would say that I'd be comfortable enough. There's a couple spots that are still quite interchangeable, but we kind of know our 9-10 anyway, and then but those first 5 is we're still kind of mix and matching, which is not necessarily your 5 best guys, but the 5 best to start that first 4 minutes more than anything. And I guess systemically it's we've got to be cognizant of foul trouble. Certainly our depth is not outstanding. With the roster that we have and numbers that we have, so it'll be a little bit interchangeable from that regard. But our last 5 will be probably more telling than our first 5.
So has there been a guy that kind of came in that has stepped up more than you thought they would over the cloud?
Well, I mean, this guy right here, his leadership has been outstanding. That's one thing that I think has accelerated the growth of our program, because when you get a guy on the inside that is vocal and the guys listen to and has a great way of communicating with guys, and then has stepped up to the plate himself. I mean, he's done a fantastic job with his body, and he performs every day in practice. It accelerates the growth of the program from within, because now you got a guy that's saying the right things toward winning inside the locker room, not just when the coaches are there. So that's been phenomenal for us. Then we have other guys like Randy Anwasar, who he's in the gym. Every time I walk by, I hear a basketball in the Centrum and poking. It's always him, and so his work ethic has been great, and I think that's brought a lot of other guys to put their time in. And the freshmen, we have the 4 freshmen that are really developing and putting the time in. They want to be special. They want to be good, which gives us significant size and length, and then Christian Musoko, who's a junior college transfer, is just coming every single day. I mean, every day he's developing, getting better, getting more confident, and so we've been very excited about the development of just about everybody. But a couple of those guys really stand out, especially some of those newcomers that are adjusting to this experience quickly.
James, how much has last season or seasons before struggles kind of fueled your fire over the summer and heading into the year?
Well, it all ties back to winning, and we haven't really done that the years that I've been here. So having our new coaching staff, Coach Simon, having these new players come in, I didn't want to, when they first came in, like us as the upperclassmen, didn't want to come in with that same attitude we had those last couple of years. We wanted those freshmen to come in and say, hey, we're not winning 5, 10, 15 games. We want to win all of them. So, I mean, that's kind of what fueled us, because, I mean, none of us like to lose. And we all hate losing. We're all sore losers. So we just came in with the attitude, like, we're going to win all of our games. It's not one that we're going to lose.
Did losing ever become comfortable last year?
No, losing has never been comfortable in our mindset. Every loss was it hurt. Every loss was not okay, and I mean we wanted to make changes. I mean, and we did, and I'm just anxious to show everybody how hard we've been working throughout this summer and this fall. So,
Coach, is it like, have you ever seen players is it hard to learn to win?
Well, I think a little bit of it is sometimes it's hard to truly believe you're going to win. And I think as you become a good team, you go into games fully trusting the process. And once you fully believe, and once every guy in the team is fully bought in, it takes away some of the hero ball. And sometimes they don't necessarily, athletes don't always necessarily outwardly not believing, but all of a sudden the other team goes on a little run and you take a bad shot because you're trying to be a hero. Well, that's the same thing as not believing in the process, and I think just the education process of how winning occurs is a big step, and so that's part of what this is all about, is staying the course, staying mentally tough, not getting frustrated. We control what we can control, and we tell guys you can ref, coach, or play, and you can't. The other, only one of the three. You don't get to dabble in other areas, and I think it just a lot of that just harbors back to the mental toughness it takes to win. You got to get on the next play. We're a next play mentality constantly, and we're very process oriented. Very process oriented. We're not even looking at, we got no goals for the season, this amount of wins, that amount. I don't believe in that. We want to win our first 4 minutes. And we want to, after that media break, we want to win the next 4 minutes. That's as far as my lens goes. It goes to the next 4 minutes.
Well, this will probably be hard to answer this question then. What will make you happy come Saturday? Like, what's a successful day?
If we compete for 40 minutes, if the guys empty their tanks, that I'd be happy with that. If at the end of this deal, when guys, whatever minutes they play, if they're physically drained after that fact, I think I'd call it a pretty good day. We're certainly working on correcting, tactical errors and those type of things. But at the end of the day, if the energy and effort's there, we can build off of that, and that's where it's going to start. And because they've done a great job, I think culturally we play together well. We make the extra pass. We do all those things. We've been unselfish. As long as we're in a mental state where we're handling what we can handle, and there's a mental toughness to us, and we empty the tanks, it's going to put us in position to win.
James, how much pressure are you putting on yourself to have a winning, successful season this year?
I'm not necessarily putting pressure on myself. The only thing I put pressure on myself is to come every day consistently modeling what we want for this program. It's not so much the games, because I know my guys will work hard. I know that's what we've been trained to do. I'm just more putting pressure on myself to keep guys mentally tough, keep guys in line, make sure myself is mentally tough and in line, and just being a leader for these freshmen on this team, just by modeling what we all been taught pretty much about this culture.
How different is practice and just everything with you being that upperclassman, being the leader this year?
Well, me and Coach talked about it before we even started all this when he first got here. He told me he wanted me to step into a bigger leadership role. I didn't quite know what it was, how to do so when we first started, but it's just me being more vocal, me talking to the guys. I'm being experienced. I know more things that happens during the games, because most of these guys haven't played. So I pretty much, I don't know, I just teach them what's going to happen. I can't tell them how to play. I can't tell them how hard to play. I can't make them do those things, but I can teach them what's going to happen during these times, and that's off and on the court. So, I mean, it's just me being more vocal to these guys and talking to them more.
Have you seen yourself kind of grow as a leader as the months have progressed?
Yeah, definitely. Teaching these guys have been it's been really well, because just seeing them grow and seeing where they are now from when they first got here, it's a really good feeling. It makes me feel good about the season. So I think it's taught me to be a better leader and a better player on the team. So,
Coach, how have you seen James kind of just progress and take over that leadership role?
Well, it's almost. I mean, it's been pretty fun to watch, because as he's handled all his own business, and come to practice, and now, put his arm around some of these young guys. I mean, practice is intense, and it's an environment. It's a teaching environment, and just as you work on a crossover dribble or a drop step, some guys got to work on how they mentally respond with the heat turned up on them, or how do they take criticism? How do they take a bad call? And these are things that we're doing in practice, and that stuff. Sometimes he's an ebb to my flow, and vice versa, where he can talk and be an interpreter really for the coaching staff when we may be trying to put a lesson in place for a young guy to understand, like, hey, these are scenarios you're going to face, not only in basketball but in life, and he can say, hey, this this is the test you're facing right now. You got to make a choice, you know. And he's got a great way of communicating that to him. So, from that regard, it's been really fun to watch. I mean, I think this guy's got a coaching future in his future if he really wants it, because he think his mind's that way. He's got a great mind.
So you obviously pulled him aside early on to kind of tell him to take more of a leadership role. Is that just because he was an upperclassman, or did you see something like on film or talking to him?
James has got first of all, he's got a phenomenal personality. So he's got a unique way of talking with people, and so from that standpoint, you know, people listen. You know, it's really hard to lead. Some guys only got a fastball, and they're going to come at you and grab you, and people immediately shut you out. But he's got a great way, and he's earned the respect of his teammates. You know, from that observation is where he said, hey, you understand you got a little power with your teammates, because they'll listen to you. And I think those are the guys that truly can affect their team more so than maybe a rah-rah guy or a guy that just screams and yells at each other. You know, those guys really don't become effective, especially with this generation.
Anything? All right, thanks guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.